Hello, everyone. Welcome to this year's Oscar pre-show. As you can see, we are ready to go and ready to enjoy this episode. And I'm going to welcome Robin to our panel. Robin, it's so great to always have you as part of this show.
Thanks for having me. I love being here. You guys are fun.
I think you make us look like we're actually experts at this, having you on the panel. So we have to bring
Speak
you
for
in.
yourself, Timmy.
I am really actually.
Okay, good. You should. Yeah, don't speak for me.
This is such a fun show because we get to really just gossip, right? Nobody really knows what's going to happen except for some accounting firm down in Orange County and someone else who has those envelopes somewhere on the planet.
The stuff in the envelopes, they know.
Stuff in the envelopes. They're doing that probably tomorrow or today. It might have started already.
But our encouragement would be grab that betting pool sheet right now because we're going to give you the answers. We have the inside scoop. If anyone knows that it's the three of us, we're going to put our together and get these answers. So grab your betting sheet. Do you guys gamble
That's
on
right.
this? You guys ever do this with friends? Throw some dollars at this?
I did a few times on Fox. I think we had a pool, and I think maybe once or twice at New Line.
How'd you
one.
do?
I did okay. I didn't do so well at the one on Fox. I seem to remember I didn't really do well on that one.
I would say
you, Robin.
not on Oscars.
Dude, not the Oscars. I think
She does better on other things like the NCAA tourney, which we can have a special episode about that once we have Selection Sunday on Monday.
Too? Oh yeah, that thing.
Talk about March Madness brackets.
March Madness, the brackets.
Football, and yeah, then we can.
I think the only time I've done like a betting pool, I was probably like such a weird film snob. Nobody ever invited me again because I'm like, oh, when I worked with so and so, and I'm like, oh, I know them, and people are like, you're just shut up, go away.
That's how I feel on
know
every.
who the people are because most people just guess like costume design. They're just throwing stuff out there. They have no idea what.
They don't know who
That's
they
how
are.
I feel on every episode, Tim.
Yeah, exactly.
Just shut up. Nobody
All right,
cares.
well, let's dive in because we know this is the Tom Cruise show, right? This is really the time where it's been a while.
The
Since
savior of movies.
Yeah, this is it. We haven't seen him on the red carpet for the longest time, but this is where one of my film snob moments, get to be there. I actually did an Oscars with him. He and Paul Newman. Paul Newman was getting his Lifetime Achievement Award, and I was backstage with Paul Newman, Tom Cruise, and Whoopi Goldberg, waiting for them to go on stage. And it was kind of a sweet moment. The two of them truly are buddies, and it was kind of a fun little ball of energy that was happening backstage with Tom Cruise.
That's
waiting for that moment. So
yeah.
I don't know if I've seen him on the red carpet since then, to be honest. He's not really been part of the show, is he?
Not typically, no. I mean, he handed in his globes when they went through that whole, crisis,
Yeah.
which they really haven't recovered from. But yeah, and then he hasn't really been nominated for years, pretty much since Magnolia, I think was the last time he was actually nominated for an Oscar. So.
Well, I'm thrilled that he's coming. He is, he's the ultimate movie star. And I like the Oscars, to me, wouldn't be the Oscars without him this year. So.
Yeah, I was thinking of how, as a person of film, how amazing it would be to be a Best Picture nominee this year. Because I honestly feel like the field of like Tom Cruise hanging out in the same room as Spielberg, James Cameron in the same room. I mean, what an amazing room that would be to be in the room with Best Picture nominees.
Yeah,
some of them are newcomers to the field in the Best Picture category. So not that they haven't been around Hollywood for a while, but that's like kind of a fun moment to only an Oscar moment to be able to jump in there and be able to hang out with rub elbows with some of the royalty of the field. So
people who've influenced them, right? Like the reason why they even got into movies in the first place could often be because of people like Tom Cruise and Steven Spielberg and James Cameron. They're just icons and legends, and it's awesome.
Yeah, if you're the producer of Triangle of Sadness this year, you've already won. Because if you're
just because of the company you happen to be hanging out with.
Yeah, it's Baz Luhrmann, James Cameron,
Steven Spielberg, Steven Spielberg. Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah, it's a good day to be hanging out that little party. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
Nothing bad about that.
All right, should we jump in? Let's do the order of the show as close as I can kind of match this. So people that are following along with their pen, they can kind of do it. We'll just do the big items, the smaller items. Your guess is as good as ours, I'm going to say, unless one of you actually knows a costume designer or sound effects person, what have you. But actor in a leading role. I'm sorry, actor in a supporting role. That's usually where it starts. And we have Brendan Gleeson, Brian Tyree Henry, Judd Hirsch, which is really funny that he's in here, Barry Cogan, and Ki Hua Kwan. Ki Hua Kwan. Am I do that right?
Ki
Hua Kwan, yeah.
Yeah. So
also known as Short Round.
I was gonna say, like, the fun photo of he and Spielberg together was really sweet in the nominations.
Yeah. Well, I'll go first. I think he's got it in the bag.
In the bag. I would
Which
agree.
one?
Short Round. Yeah.
Really, you just think it's like a crowd favorite kind of a thing? You think it's a popularity deal?
Well, it's that, and he's also won every other award. It's kind of like, I mean, the actors gave it to him, the Globes gave it to him. What other? I think the Independent Spirit Awards. He won that. I mean, he's gonna win. He's gonna win. There's just, and come on, who doesn't want to see him get up there and give probably the best speech of the night to kick off the show?
Oh, I can't wait.
I mean, come
for
on.
that.
Sure. Yeah, it's not. I don't think it's even a question this year. It's his.
That's so great because it's not that he's a no-name actor, but he just hasn't been in the forefront for 30 years or what have you. And to have a career that you get to span both sides of the field, be nominated later in your career, and possibly win an Oscar, and then obviously reconnect with some of the same folks that made you who you were back in the day is really, really great.
Yeah, but I think it's also because he's talked a lot about that, like all his struggles. Like he started out, his first movie was a ginormous Spielberg movie with, Harrison Ford. And it's just like, and then he goes from that to Goonies short time after, which was also a hit. And then it's like, then he kind of drifts in and out. Nobody really knows what he's doing. And then all of a sudden, boom, he's back into the spotlight, like big time. Mm-hmm. And he's been very forthright about his struggles and how hard it is and how much, this moment means to him. And I think people really love to see that when it's genuine joy and happiness for what's happening. I think that the audience responds to that. I think the voters respond to that. Yep. So I think that's why I think he just has in the bag.
It's the greatest comeback story. Who doesn't want to root for him? There's not one person out there who doesn't want him to win.
Especially the actors. The actors want to buy this story because they want to live that story themselves, right?
Yeah,
that's really cool. And I'll say the producers of Everything Everywhere All at Once. What a great risk they took in putting that whole package together, and to have a few nominations from that movie tonight is really, really, really huge. So good for them pulled together. All right, that one was easy.
Yeah.
I don't know about this next one for you guys. Let's do an actress in a supporting role. So we have Angela Bassett from Wakanda Forever, Hong Chao.
She's in The Whale. Yep.
Carrie Condon from the Banshees, Jamie Lee Curtis, Everything Everywhere, and Stephanie Hsu, Everything Everywhere also. So the two of them are going to cancel each other out. I'm going to guess the two actresses from Everything Everywhere All at Once.
I would have agreed with you, but I don't know. I feel like Jamie Lee Curtis is coming on strong in the end. I don't know why. I think Angela Bassett probably has it. But I think Jamie Lee Curtis could also jump in there at the last minute. I don't know. What do you think, Robin?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a 2-woman race. It's between the two of them. And I think it's anyone's guess. I think they're going to be neck and neck. It's going to be really interesting to see who plays out. I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis, definitely. I was talking with a friend recently, actually, Michelle Marks, and she made a really good point about Jamie Lee Curtis that I didn't consider before, is like, she is old Hollywood, right? You know who her parents are and who is rooting for her, not only because of who she is and how long she's been around for, but also like the old Hollywood of who her parents are. There's a great story here for her. And I thought that was a really good point for those older Academy members that are voting. But Angela Bassett also, I mean, they're both great performances. So it's like both are, deserving of the title. So that one I think is going to be one of the closest races. It's going to be up in the air between those two. I don't think anyone
Angela
else.
Bassett, she's had a great career herself.
Yeah.
I swear
Yeah.
I've seen her on more Oscar shows than anyone else as well, right? She just keeps on coming back year after year.
Yeah.
But she won? Oh,
No,
yeah,
she
she
was
won for-
nominated. No, I think she was nominated for What's Love Got to Do with It, but I don't think she won. She won the Globe, I think, for What's Love Got to Do with It, but I think she was nominated for an Oscar, but I don't think she won that year.
oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. And both of them are loved by everyone in Hollywood. So they both I think Hollywood would be happy with either one of them winning. So that one's going to be an interesting one to see who takes it.
I love it. That is, it's a fun category. I think my vote is Jamie Lee Curtis. I'm just going to tell you.
Yeah, I think that's where I think it's heading. I feel like it started out, Angela was sort of like but then Jamie Lee Curtis is kind of, her reaction to the nomination went viral and everybody was talking about it. So I don't know. I feel like the tide has sort of turned towards her. So I would agree. I think it might be Jamie Lee. I think she's going to eke it out in the end. By the way, Robin, who are her parents? Bonus question.
Tony Curtis. That's obvious, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
from Psycho, Janet Leigh.
okay,
Janet Leigh.
nice.
Yeah.
All right, just checking.
Well, that's the Lee part of the. I was thinking it was Spike Lee and Tony Curtis. So I'm glad you figured out the Lee part.
But
No.
he's here all weeks, folks. Tip your waiters on the way out.
Yeah, she's great. From Disney shows and on, she's always been around. My favorite role that she was in was the one with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Was it True Lies?
True Lies.
Yeah, so fun. Yeah, so fun.
Yeah, that's a great film.
All right, let's do an original song. Have you guys heard these songs?
Wow.
Do you know them?
Yeah.
I haven't heard all the songs. Hold on, let me go scroll down. Excuse me, folks, while I scroll. Here we go.
I personally like Lady Gaga for Top Gun, but I think Rihanna is going to win. So that's
So
Yeah.
it's Applause, which is Diane Warren from television.
Oh, wait, but it's Diane Warren. She's like what's the woman who went forever without an Emmy and then finally won? But she was not nominated forever. She was in a soap opera.
Yeah,
Susan-
soap opera.
What was it?
She sang
Yes,
it.
there you go. Exactly. She's a Susan Lucci of Oscar. She has been nominated pretty much every year and she never wins.
Yeah.
So
Well, she might
I
not
don't
win
know,
this
maybe
year. I think Lady Gaga is going to bring it back too. So it is Lady Gaga, Hold My Hand, but this is
Yes.
yeah.
I
And-
personally love that song more than any of the other songs, but I don't think it's going to win. I think Rihanna is going to win.
I liked when Hootie the
and Lady Gaga just won
performed
2
that
years
song.
ago. She just won 2 years ago for what's that? Tell me what's the
Stars Born.
Stars Born.
Stars Born. Right. Thank you. Woo.
I liked Hold My Hand when Hootie and the Blowfish sang the song. So I think Lady Gaga's okay. But
Wow, Tim, you just dated yourself severely because I don't think half our audience knows who Hootie and the Blowfish is.
Hootie and the Blowfish. Don't just Google Hootie. Just figure the whole thing.
You got to
and
throw
the
in Blowfish or it's just totally
That's good.
not worth it.
All right, Lift Me
Anyway.
Up from Black Panther, and that is
That's
that's Rihanna, right? That's the
Rihanna.
one.
That's I think I agree with Robin. I think that's the one that's going to take it.
By the way, Rihanna has more #1 hits in history than anybody else. So
Isn't she
wins the
performing
Oscar,
too?
She's gonna and she's a
perf-
Super Bowl performer. She's gonna.
Well, she's performing at the Oscars too, so I think that might.
Yeah.
I think they all perform.
No, Gaga's not.
No, not always. No.
They're missing out.
It's sad. I was hoping to see it, but Gaga's not going to perform, but Rihanna will.
So
Yeah.
Not To from RRR, which I haven't seen that yet. Kevin Getz said
Kevin
that's a
Getz
must-see
was
movie.
raving about that.
And This Is Life from Everything Everywhere All at Once also. But you guys are saying Rihanna. I'm
Yep,
saying
Rihanna.
I'm
Yeah.
saying Rihanna.
Yeah.
Good call. That's a good call. So if you're keeping score, that's a good place to keep score right now. I'm going to pull up animated feature because I think there's something really fun about the animated features. So it's Turning Red, which I believe that's the Pixar movie.
Correct.
Yep. The Sea Beast, Puss in Boots, which is a follow-up from Shrek.
Mhm.
Is that even possibly a nominee?
No, it's the second Puss in Boots movie, isn't it?
I know, but he's a side character in Shrek.
It's a spin-off from Shrek.
Yeah, but it's the second Puss in Boots movie.
Right. Yeah.
That would
Yes.
be like giving an Emmy to When Joni Loves Chachi. Like it's not even close to
The
being
movie's
When-
good
Well,
though. It's super
Apparently,
fun.
the movie got really great reviews, and apparently, I talked to a Raven about it. So
And the animation is a little more unique than other
Yeah.
films. I get why it was nominated because it kind of took a different approach in the aesthetic of the animation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I get it. I get why that's
Okay.
nominated.
All right, Marcel the Shell with shoes on. All right, kid story. But here's the funny one. The title of the film is Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. Like that's the whole thing. So every
that
time
should
you
win.
say who wins the Oscar, it's going to say his name in it every time it's published. So after
that's
he
who's gonna
wins-
win. I
Yeah.
think he's gonna win.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, also like those stop motion films, if you look back at history at the Leica films or the Wallace and Gromit films, like you'll see that there's so much work that goes into that film. And so it kind of should win, right? Because of
Yeah.
how much goes into it. And they're seen as these prestige kind of animations for a reason. So yeah, I think it's a no-brainer and
And the character
Netflix-
design is
Pinocchio.
incredible. I mean, it's so beautiful. And
Yeah.
I mean, it obviously his palette, but just to have his name there, I mean, good for him. Another Oscar in a different category is what an accomplishment there.
And I must say, he's a wonderful man. Friendliest guy you'll ever meet,
Yeah, that's
Guillermo.
the good guys win.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, you want to jump to another big category? Should we do writing? Or
Are we doing adapted, or are we doing hold
let's do
on.
original?
Original? Ooh, original.
I mean, adapted is okay too. I don't
Oh.
know. Or like
Adapted is going to be women talking.
All right, let's do adapted first because we'll get through both these. But these are all fun movies. I'll watch all these twice, or at least 3 times. All Quiet on the Western Front, beautiful, brilliant. I mean, in any other year, this would be a contender, but he has some heavy contenders this year. I love Ryan Johnson, Glass Onion, good for him. Super fun stuff. Not going to win, but just super fun. The twist at the end was not twisty enough.
No, it wasn't twisty enough.
Yeah, especially because it's Ed Norton. We know he's the bad guy.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, it's spoiler alert. Whoever
Yeah, whoops.
it's too late. I should have said that before.
Oh well.
Living. I didn't see that one. Top Gun Maverick. It's interesting that's adapted because it's a follow-up from the original and then Women Talking. So I think it's Top Gun on that one, right?
No. I agree
No.
with Robin. It's gonna be Women Talking.
Oh
Yeah.
Okay.
I think most people are talking about Women Talking. Did you guys see it?
No, I have not seen
No.
it yet.
So it's heavy dialogue, but it's really brilliantly written. Like it kind of made me sad because I actually, when I watched it, I felt like the opportunity was missed where I don't think it should have been a movie. I think they made this a page to stage, taken it to like
Should
the
have been
White House, like 700 space, and then go that route. And it would be an award-winning, like slow climbing, but like amazing legendary play. To me, it when I'm watching it, I want to see it on stage. It doesn't translate to film the way that I wanted it. It felt very stagey. Even when I was watching it, there was no theatricality. So like, I feel like that was just such a missed opportunity for them to do that. But the dialogue's so great. But I do think that much of it takes place in the same place, other than like flashbacks or, some scenes where they're talking about it, like they take place in this barn of these women talking, which is really interesting conversation. But it felt stagey to me. And so, I don't.
Cinema does not give the same grace as stage. Like,
No.
and
Especially if it's a lot of dialogue.
About things that go from
Right.
theater to stage, it just doesn't have the same appeal. They have to change the storyline and the plot. So that's a really interesting feedback. I can
think they should
can
have
imagine
taken
that.
the same cast and taken them to theater first, And
Yeah.
God, I think it would have been on fire. That would have been like, 700 Sundays. Like, I think it would have been the same kind of thing. So I'm sad that they didn't do
Well,
that. They
don't
could
put
still
it
do
past
that.
Broadway. They'll probably take you up on that offer because
They should. They
yeah.
should. They'll make money, and it will be better, I think, than it was as a film. So, anyways, I digress. But they're gonna win anyway, I think, for adapted screenplay, because it's also just the dialogue's very relevant, but also like, it's a little heavy-handed in that way. But I think so many people love the dialogue in it, and I think so many of the voters are rooting for that film. I feel like that's kind of been the,
it's kind of flying under the radar a little bit, but I feel like that's the one everyone's talking about.
It's not
And
good
you want to
enough.
give him some award, right? So you give him
But
the award.
Yeah, this is the award that it will take, if it takes anything.
That's great. All right, original screenplay. We have The Banshees, Everything Everywhere, The Fabelmans, Tar, and Triangle of Sadness. So is this Spielberg's going to get a nod, or is this where Everything Everywhere all at once steps up? And
I think this is Banshees. I think this is Banshees and Tar, personally.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think it's between those two. I don't think, I mean, I feel like everyone's talking more about the performances and Everything Everywhere all at once than versus the movie as a whole. I mean, I could be wrong. But I feel like the Banshees and Tar, I think, might be the dark horse in this one, because this has very, rabid fans who are, I mean, it's kind of almost a love-hate kind of thing. Most people either love it or they hate it, but the people who love it really love it.
So then they'll lean into it and they'll be consistent in their voting, where others might spread their votes out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think Banshees was one of my favorite movies of the year. I thought it was just like, it highlights the taste of Fox Searchlight. It's the perfect Fox Searchlight movie, right? Martin McDonagh is as original as it gets. And there were so many great freaking lines, like when he's like, my donkey choked on your finger. Like, there's so many, or it's like, me feckin' time, right? Like, everything was like, how can you tell me you're wasting me feckin' time? You're wasting me feckin' time. Like, it's so funny, right? And it's so great, and it's so well written. Like, if that's who I want to win. Now, Everything Everywhere All at Once, because it's super sci-fi, but there's also a lot of emotional elements. There's so much that goes into that, and it is heavy dialogue, and it's multiverse, and it's like, it's difficult to build that world, and so much of it is on the page. So I actually think it's probably going to go to Everything Everywhere All at Once. I hope it goes to Banshees. Tar, to me, and we'll talk about this when we get to Best Picture too, but it was inside baseball. It reminded me a little bit of like when I watch Billions, which I love that show. It's a great show, but sometimes I'm like, I don't know anything about that world. So I need to like go and Google what they're talking about, because I don't even know what it means to be in that finance world, right? The way that they're discussing it. So Tar, which shows how researched he was, and how, like, I mean, this is the first film he's done in like, how many years? Like over a decade. Like, but
I think Little Children was the last one. Wasn't that his last one?
Yeah, like in 2006, right? Like, but it was like, it's so brilliant. But I also don't know, because I think there's a lot of people who, like you said, that people loved it, but then there were also people who like probably didn't make it through the movie. Because
that's true.
It's heavy. It's not heavy. It's just, it's
And if you're watching it at home and you're not dedicated to it, you can kind of turn it off and walk away.
It's inside baseball. And like,
that's a good point.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, look, I want Banshees to win, but I think it's probably going to be Everything Everywhere, but we'll see.
All right, I'm going to jump over to film editing, because I think this is an interesting category.
Yeah.
Where it's Banshees, Everything Everywhere, Tar, Maverick. So all the best, and then finally an Elvis. And I think, to me, Elvis, this is where Elvis wins, right? That it's the storytelling. It's the way Baz Luhrmann does the storytelling. It's very complex. The transitions, the plots, the fades, all of those editorial decisions you have to make to kind of blend that beautiful storytelling in the Baz Luhrmann way. Absolutely unique. Absolutely unique. I know that it's also heavy to the story is a big part of editorial. So you can go on the story side or you can go on the transition side. But I think Elvis was just, this is where they win.
You want to go, Keith?
Yeah, I think Tim's probably right on that one, because it is Baz Luhrmann is definitely very frenetic, and it definitely takes a very skilled editor to try to put that movie together. So I would say that's probably the one that, if they have a shot at winning, I think that's probably their best shot at winning, to be honest, it would be in film editing.
I think Top Gun could sneak this one out. I mean, when you're cutting with the jets and you're cutting back and forth between all of those scenes, like that's difficult to do too. When you're not a fighter pilot, but you're an editor, right? Like there's a very difficult, that to me was really, really, really well done. But I could also see Everything Everywhere All at Once, because it was so, like, there was so much going on with that film too, from multiverse to multiverse. Like there's a lot there too in order to keep the viewer. So I mean,
I know Everything Everywhere is also, it's a complicated story. So to put the pieces together and let it, I think that's a skill that it's for a different reason, a skill level. You have to kind of keep the story piece. All right, actress in the leading role. We already know who this is going to be, right? It's Ana de Armas. Isn't she going to win this?
She was
her campaign.
Yeah, so it's Kate Blanchett. That's what I've heard too. She's really amazing and blonde. Anna. Andrea Rosenborough. Oh, she's the one that was
Riseborough.
Yeah,
she was the one who had the campaign for her to get the nomination.
Michelle Williams for The Fabelmans, and Michelle Yeoh for Everything Everywhere. So
Michelle Yeoh, next category.
No, I don't think it's that easy. I think it's
really?
Well, Kate, okay, so both of the movies, I'll touch on this, like Michelle Yeoh, she's the front runner, obviously, and I think it's because there's a great story there, right? Much like Ki Wai Kwan, and everybody is rooting for her and for that movie, and she's taken a lot of these awards. But Kate Blanchett has also taken a lot of the awards. Kate Blanchett is also, if you watched Tar, like she's effortless. Like she becomes, you're not watching Kate Blanchett anymore. It is remarkable to watch that woman on the screen for that movie. And in any other year, it's hers in a landslide, I think. But I do think, because of what I touched on a little bit before with Tar being so inside baseball, Michelle Yeoh has a movie that's a little bit more accessible. And also there's an emotion there with Michelle Yeoh's character, that you're watching her with her daughter and you're watching her with her husband and all these stories, and you're seeing her being like pulled across all of these multiverses, that is a lot more accessible than the story of Kate Blanchett's character in Tar, which I think could ultimately edge out and give Michelle Yeoh the win. But Kate Blanchett is a 2-time Academy winner. It's not an accident that Deadline drops on Monday, the day where ballots close, that she has her best performance in her career. Like that implies that it's better than the 2 Academy Awards or 2 performances for Academy Awards that she's won before. Like, and by the way, she is tremendous. They're both tremendous. All the actresses were. I thought Ana de Armas was amazing. I think Michelle Williams was actually the least of all of them, even though her performance was so great in Fabelmans too. Andrea Riseborough, I know nobody saw this movie. I know it was, a grassroots, but it's not really grassroots when you have like, Charlize Theron doing a screening for you and like everyone. Right. But also like, I don't think that's why, the people get Academy nominations and it's like lightning in a bottle, like when they get these, right? Like she's fantastic in the movie. You don't get a nomination if you're not worthy of it. And she's certainly worthy of it in that film, particularly in the moments where she's sober, weirdly enough. Like I found like when she was drunk or on drugs, she was kind of overacting a little bit, or it felt like that to me. But in the moments where she's sober, it was like, oh my God, she's been around for over a decade. Everyone knows who she is. The actor, she is huge in the actors community. So she's not really big mainstream, but within her community, she is so well respected and loved. And so when when somebody mentions, you have her manager working for her and you have the directors working for her and saying these things, you bring it up in a room with like 60 agents and you've given them a talking point. of Andrea Riseborough, you should see her in this movie, she's so amazing. That talking point is information's currency.
Yeah,
and
I feel like
talking
you can
point
get why she was nominated, right? Because
Right,
all of her connections from the nomination, winning is a different level, right? Because that was
Well-
the entire Academy voting or whatever. So
well, all of those conversations, it was late breaking, right before the SAG Awards. You go in and everybody who's there, who's in the actor community, wants to talk about how great Andrea Riseborough is, and they're ultimately the ones who do the nomination. So it kind of makes sense, right? Like that's how this kind of stuff happens. There's a groundswell and it's lightning in a bottle. Like screenings are good. There's never not a reason to do a screening, but I don't think that's the only reason. Like, because every single movie gets screened. Often they get screened by giant stars also. That's no different. And in the grassroots campaign, that's no different either. That's been happening forever.
I know that. Come on, come on. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
it's
with you.
everyone
Like,
does.
how can you? I've heard of like, how is grassroots a bad thing?
Well,
So wait,
it's-
you have to
it's
choose
the-
one
it's
now.
the amount of emails that were sent. That's where the big concern was.
So Robin, you have to
But there
choose
is-
one now. You've
Yeah,
gone
you have
through
to
the
choose.
list now.
I think it's going to be Michelle Yeoh because her performance is more accessible than Kate's. And that's the only reason to me that it's Michelle Yeoh.
All right. I think that makes sense, right? If you actually watch the movie opposed to not watch the movie, you have a favorite in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Should we just jump to best picture, or is there one more category you guys want to bring in here before
Best actor.
We gotta do best actor.
Oh, yeah,
then we
that
can do best
guy.
picture.
Will Smith, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
best director
Yeah.
too. Oh God.
Listen,
Not
right?
gonna happen.
By the way, that Netflix show was really, really fun on Saturday night. The live
Chris Rock show?
Chris Rock one. Yeah, he did an excellent job just holding out to the very end and then dropping the bombs he needed to.
I haven't seen it yet, but again, that's the genius of marketing where you drop that special a week going into the Oscars. That's not an accident. That's
And it's the
Nope.
first live show ever on Netflix, so
Yeah.
it's a launching point. And here, what's nice is, I'll say, now that I've seen it, it kind of clears the air.
yeah.
It's also resolved.
Yeah.
And I thought he did a good job resolving it so that we're not watching anything or even caring. If he was nominated this year, which obviously he can't, but he was nominated this year, it wouldn't be as heavy hanging over our heads as if it wasn't ever addressed. So, all right,
Right.
actor in leading role. Here we are. Aston Butler as Elvis, Colin Farrell in Banshees, Brendan Fraser in The Whale, which we haven't touched on that yet, but that's really
Mhm.
interesting. Paul Mescal in After Sun, and Bill Nighy in Living. So who's our favorite going into this one? Is that Colin Farrell?
I think it's Brendan Fraser.
Oh, you think it is?
Mhm.
Or Austin Butler. Both of them, I
Oh.
think. I mean, I think it's a 3-man race between Colin, Austin.
Austin and Brendan.
Yep. So personally,
Which splits
I
the
never,
votes. That's the tricky part, is when it's a 3-person race, it splits it. It becomes much harder to
right.
pick the
I
winner.
think if I had to guess, I would say it's probably going to go to Brendan.
Yeah.
Because Colin does a really good job in his movie in Banshees. He's not exactly well liked, I think, in the community per se. And that is an aspect of this when it comes down to it.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
If
Politics.
it's politics of it. Exactly. Austin's really young. Yes, he was really great in Elvis, and I personally hate it when they give actors awards for just impersonating someone, because there's such a wealth of material to work with, versus just inventing a character from scratch from words on a page takes a lot more skill than just imitating someone who lived and was an icon for so long. And he's young.
Yeah.
And I think Brendan Fraser has sort of this. He's phenomenal in the movie. You see bits of him, and it's raw emotion, and I think a lot of it is deep emotion, because I think he's had quite an up and down career.
Is it? I was gonna say, is it more fun because he was Encino Man and now he gets to be?
Well, it's part of that, and
Whale?
in the Mummy.
Yeah.
And then he had,
Mummy.
he was like
He
this-
wasn't the Mummy. He was the guy chasing.
I
the
know, but
Mummy.
he was in the Mummy. What I'm saying is he was this sort of matinee idol, and now
Yeah.
he's sort of like just an average dude who found this wonderful role that seemed to really speak to him. And
That's
so
really good.
I'll ultimately think it's going to be.
All right, let's say Brendan Fraser. Is that what you're saying too, Robin?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think Austin Butler, I don't know if I completely agree with your take on playing somebody, Keith, because I think there's a
Yeah,
nuance to getting that right. Because if you don't, then it goes very badly, right? And
that is
that's very
true. Yeah.
difficult to get the nuance of a person, like of somebody else, and also be able to put empathy in that as well, and bring them to life as the person you remember.
Right.
Without making it look like a caricature. So I do think that there's certainly a lot that goes into that. And I thought Austin Butler was amazing in that. I think, to me, and Colin Farrell, by the way, I usually don't like him in any role that he's ever been in. I don't know why. I've just never connected with him in anything he's done.
Not the Penguin.
Yeah, but until this movie. I loved him in this movie. I thought he was so good and so heartbreaking and tragic in so many ways, but also just like, God, he was perfection in that role. But Brendan Fraser was like empathy coming to life. And that was magic. And to be able to watch him, I mean, God, he was the best and worst of all of us in terms of like, so, you have like what self-destruction actually is, but also coming out of it and being able to see, it's tragic because he can see the best in everyone else but himself. Like the character is just so wonderful. And he did, I thought he was, I mean, I think I would give it to him. And also when he's in his speeches, it's the same thing as Ki-Wai Kwan, where it's this comeback story. It's a great story. Just like we love movies, they're great stories. And marketing always has a great story. Like, so do awards campaigns. And so do like everyone is rooting for him in this way. And so that's why I think it's going to Brendan Fraser.
Brendan Fraser, okay. I mean, I thought the reprieve of Ryan Reynolds' character in Just Friends was a good enough reason to vote for him, but why not?
A good one. Good reference there, Tim.
Pulling out the references today, people. I'm making things happen. Here we go. Okay, this is actually a very difficult category, directing, because it's The Banshees of Inisherin, Everything Everywhere All at Once, The Fabelmans, which is Spielberg himself, right? Tar and Triangle of Sadness.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling this is where Tar might win because it's a complicated story, played itself out in such a way. Fabelmans has got to be, Spielberg has always got to be like a favorite somehow, but I'm kind of tired of him.
Sorry, I got to go. So they get to you and
he's
Robin
wrapping up. All right,
I gotta go. This is it.
Okay.
So, well, you guys can finish. I don't want to force you guys to cut out.
Just choose your director, Keith.
I will choose. Okay, I'm going to do director and I'm going to do picture.
Yes.
All right, hold on. What was the hold on, let me find director. Bear with me. Director, I think, is going to go to Martin McDonough, and picture is going to Everything All at Once.
All at Once.
I don't think there's even a question at this point. They've cleared every award. So with that, I bid you farewell.
All right. We'll see you next week for the replay or whatever.
Yep. See you guys next week. Enjoy the show, everyone.
See you later. All right,
Bye.
Tim. Who do you think is going to take it? What's your?
So I think I like the idea of Tar taking it so that it actually gets a good nod for the film that it is. Yeah. Everything Everywhere is the favorite across the board. So if you don't know what to vote for that, you're like Banshees. I haven't seen it yet, but it sounds like to me like that could be a good play. And I think Fabelman's Spielberg always kind of gets that credit, but I don't know. I think his favor is running out a little bit in the competition here.
I think this is the hardest category of everything. I think like I look at each one of these films as a standalone and how they all played out. And I look at like Tar, yes, super inside baseball, super research, but also because of those reasons, I don't know how accessible it is to a broader audience, right? And I also don't know how many people actually. It's a long movie.
But when you're voting on director, don't you kind of lean into that a little bit more when you're thinking about that?
But again, like I think it's a little cold and inaccessible in its feeling. Whereas Martin McDonough is a genius. And I said, I think he's as original as it gets. I think that movie is expertly crafted. I think it's expertly written. Like I loved that movie as it's quirky enough, right? I think Everything Everywhere All at Once is an interesting one because I actually don't know if it's the direction that pops for me in Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah.
I think it's the acting. So
And the story, right? Because the directing is kind of covering the story,
right,
more than it did something unique. I honestly feel like Baz Luhrmann, this is where Baz Luhrmann should be showing up, because it's the directing of the film that showed up differently than these favorites.
Yeah, Ruben Östlund kind of
maybe you're right. So maybe it's Banshees. Maybe it feels like the way you embrace Banshees is.
No, I'm actually not embracing Banshees here because who I want to win, I want Steven to win, because I watched Fabelmans. Look, the movie itself was good. But to me, this was like, what's special about it is the direction. What's special about it is that it was like I was watching one of Steven Spielberg's home movies. It was like the most expensive therapy that Steven could have for himself, right? But it was healing. And I just thought, how healing for him, and how beautiful that the very art form that he used to use to run away from the horrible, hurtful things that have happened in his life, that he actually takes that and turns the camera on himself and his life in a way where I thought it was beautiful, that like his whole idea that you can shape the lens of how you see the world. And I thought that was so beautiful. And I thought that it was so
it's a director's movie. So if you're a director, you love it. And then if you're watching it, you understand what a director is more. So what better than to give the best directing role to the film about directing to the director about who's
and it's not even just the film about directing. So like this film wouldn't work on anybody. And the reason it works is, of course, we know that little boy grows up to become Steven Spielberg. And that's what makes this movie so great. Like it was a love letter to movie.
What forms a director, right?
Yes. It's a love letter to movies, and it's a love letter to his family. And even I think it's a little bit of it's healing. And if you look at what the meaning of movies should be and why we go to the movies and like all of these things, it encapsulates all those things. And I promise you that you take this person, Steven Spielberg, the most prolific, arguably the most prolific director of all time, and he's going to look back on his career, and guess what movie is going to matter the most to him?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
This one.
And I thought you were going to say E.T., but I'm just kidding.
No, that is he how authentic and vulnerable it was. I don't think it was narcissistic at all. Some people thought it was. I actually think it was the complete opposite of that. And just what a wonderful way.
Well, don't you feel like he has to explain himself to people all the time of how he became him too? So this is a how-to approach.
And the last 10 seconds was like genius. The last 10 seconds of the camera coming up and changing, because of what John Ford told him. Like, I just thought I thought it was beautiful. And that's where I want Steven to win it. I think he's the most deserving. Whether he does or not, another picture.
Yeah.
Another story.
I wish he wasn't nominated for other ones, because you kind of, I don't know. But yeah, I'm with you. It's a very complicated category this year.
It is. I think that's the hardest.
All right. So Best Picture, maybe not so hard. We haven't talked about Top Gun much, but let's just go through them. All Quiet on the Western Front, which, by the way, is a beautiful film. It's what filmmaking should and can do. Avatar, The Way of the Water. Again, not much of a favorite in a lot of categories, but clearly, it does what it's supposed to do there. Banshees. Elvis, we've already talked about that. I think Baz Luhrmann has such a beautiful vision of what a film takes. Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. The Fabelmans, Tar, Top Gun Maverick, Triangle of Sadness, and Women Talking. So I think the favorite going into this is Top Gun. I think it's because it's a favorite kind of a thing. People like the film, but I think if you look at all the films on the roster here, when you're going from all the films made to getting the nominees, you have one type of mind. But now that I'm comparing these films, Top Gun's a fun movie. It's great. I don't know if it sticks with me. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna watch it 7 times. But some of these other films I would watch more than once for sure. Even the Fabelmans, I'd recommend that to somebody else to watch. Oh, you love that? You should jump in and watch this film, get that, understand the story.
I'm kind of opposite as you, because I think I've already seen Top Gun Maverick like 7 times, and it's still not enough. So, but I also love that franchise. But here's what I will say. I think it's a 4-picture race. I think it's between Banshees, All Quiet on the Western Front, Everything Everywhere All at Once, and Top Gun. And the reason I think that Top Gun kind of slides in there over, I mean, Women Talking, I kind of told you what I think it should have been a page stage. I think Triangle of Sadness it felt a little novice to me, but it was good. It was fun. It made me dizzy and want to throw up. And that scene's so gross. If you haven't seen it, like, spoiler, there's a really gross seasick scene, but funny still. And you know, Banshees is wonderful too. But I think Everything Everywhere All at Once has been running away with all this stuff. Now, to me, I don't think, like, so here's the thing with that movie. Nobody saw it coming. Like, this movie wasn't, they didn't even the studio didn't see it coming. They debuted this in March at South by Southwest. They didn't debut it in award season. They weren't trying to propel this, but that movie found an audience, found the money at the box office, brought people back to the box office in a way, like, for a small movie that
generated evangelists. The number 100%. Of people telling me to go watch that film was amazing.
100%. But that wasn't, the studio did that happened all like by accident, and a wonderful, glorious accident, but an accident nonetheless. And I think that what makes that movie for me, if you take out Michelle Yeoh and Ki Wai Kwan and Jamie Lee Curtis and you just put in somebody else, I don't think I would care. I don't think I would watch it, because I think they make the movie. She like connects you to that daughter. She connects you to the story. I also think that it's interesting. I don't think it's a shoo-in, because when you look at who the Academy is comprised of, it's a lot of older viewers who Everything Everywhere All at Once, I liked the movie, but it's a little nuts. Right. And it's a little all over the place.
You feel like something like All Quiet would be more favorable to the older viewers.
Or Top Gun. I think, you know, at one minute I'm like crying at Everything Everywhere All at Once. And the next minute I'm like, why do they have hot dog fingers?
I know.
But laughing so hard. Like, this is so weird. Like, she has there's Everything Bagel and now she's like fighting with penis nunchucks. It's like, what am I watching? And so I do think that there's going to be a lot of older Academy members who might be like, no thanks, right? This wasn't for me. And that ultimately could give the edge to a movie like Top Gun or All Quiet on the Western Front. You know, look, again, like, there's these campaigns of all these movies where it's not an accident that on the day Oscar ballots are closing, Top Gun gets a story, or LA Times releases a story that Top Gun might be in cahoots with like a Russian oligarch. Like, it's a rumor. That's all it is a rumor. There's no proof of it. Like, it's not an accident that is getting out there. That's the nastiness of political campaigns. Right. So, but I think
anti-Scientology movement trying to do something or whatever.
Right. It's because if you aren't on to the Everything Everywhere All at Once thing, but you're kind of leaning towards All Quiet or Top Gun, maybe All Quiet becomes the one for you. Now, All Quiet for me, beautiful film. I don't know if I'm completely on board with you, but I'm also like,
I'm just saying it's a film, like, it's just a film. Like, you go like, that's I almost feel like I'm simplifying it, but I feel like when you're putting a picture together and you're doing cinematography, character, actor design, story, you know, this is a classic story, to pull that all together. I think because the producer's the one that get this award, the producer deserves credit for putting that entire package together and pushing a classic into the forefront and to Best Picture. That's a lot of things have to come together to make that happen. I think the Top Gun thing is like, if you give in to producers again, they took a risk and they killed it. Not only did they kill it, but they killed it by holding back the film. The studio did some really amazing stuff to get that film out there. It's still in the box office. It's still growing. I'm with you. I think everywhere is like, it's a phenomenon for the culture and the zeitgeist. I don't know if I give the producers the credit for that one. I'd almost want to give Spielberg more credit putting his story together than Everything Everywhere. But I think of it who the producers are and what they had to do to make the film. When I think of this, I don't necessarily know if that's true. I think people look at the whole package and say, oh, the whole package is something. So again, I think I'd say Maverick. It feels like it's the favorite going in. People wanted to win something, and they want to see Tom Cruise jump on the couch again or something like that. So
well, I think we need to give credit where credit's due. Like, that movie single-handedly brought people back to theaters. And by the way, they didn't come back for anything else after that either. So that movie, there is something to be said for that. They did the impossible. This movie's in the 90% on Rotten Tomatoes and audiences. Like, everyone loves this movie, and that's very hard to do. And ultimately, like, we don't always have to, go for the prestige. Who's to say that that's not prestige, or what, you know what I mean? Like, prestige is something that happened in the 90s in the Miramax days. Like, when Weinstein came in and started competing with these Shakespeare in Loves against Saving Private Ryan's and all these, and it was like, how did this movie win? And it created this whole like genre of prestige films, but that doesn't always mean that those are the most deserving.
I love that it's a blockbuster that's at the forefront.
Yes, I hope it is. Yeah. I think, look, my take on All Quiet on the Western Front is a little different than yours, because I love the original. I thought that this one was actually, first of all, I wonder why did you make this movie? Because the first one's so great, and I don't really know that I needed another version of it. And I also think that the first one's a complete character study on like what the horrors of war can do to a person. And this one felt a little bit more just like an anti-war, oh, look at the horrors of war in general. I didn't feel connected to the lead.
You're totally right. It's not a compassion. I can hear when you talk about the empathy and compassion segment of like, do I relate? And I was thinking more of pulling it off. I guess is what
I wasn't. But to me, pulling it off for a movie, the whole reason is to connect with your audience. And I didn't connect. And I think a big part of it too is, I mean, look, I come from a strong military family, as you guys know.
I almost want Elvis I would give Elvis the nod there more than
well, I just want to say, like the thing for me when I'm watching that film too is like what was missing for me and was authenticity. It felt like another Hollywood movie of war made by people who've never served and didn't bother to do a lot of research in the way that
that's such brilliant insight. Totally.
You look at Band of Brothers, you look at Saving Private Ryan, American Sniper, all these movies brought in people from the outside. Band of Brothers was showing the screenings to the men that they were writing it about, or that they made it about. They acted as producers almost in this film, where they would say, this is authentic, that's not accurate. Look, ultimately it's Hollywood, so they still have to do Hollywood things. But like, even Top Gun, they had real pilots, they had real people, they went through boot camp, so they actually knew what these things meant. And I was missing every bit of authenticity and connection from All Quiet. So I felt like it was just, again, like you said on last year with Power of the Dog, that it felt like AI made a movie. Same thing for me with All Quiet.
You know what? More credit to you. I think there is the Netflix breaking that they basically just need content out the door, so they don't actually put all those packages together. You've nailed so many great aspects of probably what has bothered me about All Quiet, because I know what I was watching when I was watching it. It was fine, but I think you're right there. It's like there's a cotton candy element to it of like, it's just eat some candy and now go binge watch the next thing or whatever.
Yeah, it was beautiful in the shots and the mud that's caked on his face, but like he kept flipping over dead bodies, and it was like, okay, I get it. I know it was nothing I've never seen before, and there was no reason. I would rather go watch the original again, because there was a connection.
Well said.
To the character. So
all right, we got to wrap this thing up because we'll go on forever, but I am excited about these Oscars. Hopefully there's some good show elements to this as well. We'll actually enjoy the time. I feel like the momentum is picking up. I think the excitement of the films, the nominees are something everyone can relate to. So I'm hoping the red carpet plays this out well, and we'll be back next week with like the winners list here. So we'll keep score.
Yeah. Hopefully there's nothing that's going to throw it off like the slap did last year.
Or maybe not in a negative way. We just need something to talk about. We got to need something. Robin, thank you for joining us. You're absolutely brilliant. Appreciate you being part of everything that we're doing here at Hollywood Breaks. And it's always wonderful to have you part of this episode as well.
Thank you. I love coming on here. It's such a great platform, and you guys do such a good job, and I'm just honored to be part of it. So thanks for including me.
Let's keep it up. And we'll see you soon. We'll do the wrap-up show.
All right. See you soon.